Hello, hello, hello. Today, we're going to go over some Palworld breeding. This has been the thing that I've really sunk my teeth into and sort of been just messing around with the most. I've had a lot of fun trying to breed the right stats, the breeding different combinations and different options, and trying to find the right roles for stats. So I definitely have a decent handle on how to do most of this. This guide might be a little bit lengthy because I'm going to try and explain everything so that way you guys have a really good idea of how to get started and how to actually breed the right stats and what stats are good, what stats are mid, that are not the greatest, and then also how to get the setup process going from the cake to capturing the right pals for the scenario and going over everything. So just if this guide is a bit lengthy and a kind of an info dump, I'm sorry. I just want to make sure that you guys have a full understanding of how to do the breeding so that way everything is kind of appropriate and you're not, missing out on anything. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So the start of this is going to be relatively simple. You're going to want to go over to the PAL section and then you're going to see breeding farm. All you're going to need is wood, stone, and fiber, and that's it. Once you do that, you're just going to find a nice little spot that you guys can go ahead and drop the little farm and you're done. That's pretty much it from the setup process in terms of just getting the ranch going. Once you have it down, all you're going to need to do from that point forward is get cake and find some pals that you want to breed. Now, some things to mention that I want to make sure that you guys understand. There's currently a bug within the game where for some reason the pals that are currently breeding, they will stop breeding and then they will not be able to be thrown back into the pit in order to start breeding again. So if I take this guy out, right, and I go and like throw him over here or some shit, right, he's not going to breed. So we'll see if it breaks it. So right here, you'll see stop breeding and then the male's gone. If I go and grab him up, let's see if it'll break. I don't know if this will break. It might break, it might not, but I'll throw him back in and okay, it didn't break. But sometimes what will happen is even when you throw them back in, they won't register at the breeding farm and then they will just go off randomly and start doing other shit, and like they'll go mine stone or they'll go chop trees down or collect stuff, whatever the case may be. If there is other work around the base, sometimes they'll stop breeding and just go do other work. So it's kind of annoying that happens and it's really obnoxious. And so the only way to fix that is by breaking the breeding ranch and then replacing it and then putting the pals back in there to breed again. That is the only physical way to actually fix that. So when that happens, just break it and re-put it back in and then you guys should be okay. Now that's why I have a dedicated breeding ranch. Like this whole area is just dedicated to breeding. The reason is because of that. If you try and breed in your main base where there's a ton of work going on with logging sites and things like that, you're gonna find yourself being really annoyed that all your breeders are not doing what they're supposed to be doing. So if you have a logging site or a stone pit, all of these things will get in the way of your breeding, and for some reason the pals will just go and start working on these things and will not breed whatsoever. And it's just super obnoxious. It makes the breeding process way longer than necessary. So that's why I have a dedicated breeding area and breeding base. So there you go. There's that. The next thing you're going to need is cake. Cake is going to be your biggest bottleneck for breeding. It's super obnoxious to craft. It takes forever. And on top of that, it's just not a fun thing to deal with. So I'll go ahead and show you guys the process of making the cake and how to get all the materials and the best ways to kind of get going. So I've got a cooking pot here, which is all you need to make cake. You can use an electric cooker, which is fine. Those things are great too. But to go over all of the mats here, you're going to need flour, which is very simple. All you're going to need is wheat and then a mill, and then you put the wheat in the mill, and then you're going to need a water type pal to craft up the flour. I'll go over that here in a moment. But outside of the flour, you're going to need red berries, which is very simple. You can set up a berry plantation and then they'll just start crafting berries left and right. Super simple. Milk, this one's a bit annoying because until you find a Mazzarina, you're not really going to be able to produce milk like that. But once you do find a Mazzarina, you're going to go ahead and put a ranch down and then put the Mazzarinas on the ranch, and then they will start producing milk, which is very simple. That's not really a bottleneck. If you want to bypass the Mazzarina in case you guys haven't found one yet or haven't like bred one or whatever, you guys can actually buy milk from a red vendor, which I have one captured. I'll show you what that looks like here in a moment. But outside of the milk, you have the egg, which is very simple. Again, all you're going to need is a ranch, and then you place the ranch down and then you put chickpeas in the ranch, and then they will produce eggs, and you will have a surplus of eggs really quickly. And then honey, this one's a bit annoying because I didn't really know how it functioned or how to get honey, but all you're gonna have to do is, again, put the ranch down and then put some Elizabeths and bee guards, and they will go ahead and produce honey. You can also go and hunt cinnamoths and Elizabeths and bee guards, and they will also give you honey whenever you kill them or capture them. Either or, it doesn't really matter, but in my opinion, the best way to farm them is have a dedicated ranch to these materials. So I would basically farm up honey till about maybe 500, and then once I have about 500 honey, then I would go ahead and farm milk, and then farm that up to about 500 to 1,000 based on the stats that you need, right? So like milk is +7, you need 7 of those in order to get that. You're gonna want to get more than the honey because honey's only 2, right? So if you don't need that much honey, just farm up like a few hundred and that should last you a good bit. As far as the milk and eggs though, you're gonna want to get thousands of these things because like that's gonna be like the biggest problem, and your bottleneck is gonna be those because you're gonna burn through milk and eggs really fast. So real quick, let's go ahead and pull out the vendor and I'll show you guys what I'm talking about here. So we've got I don't know which merchant. Is it this one? Yeah, it's this guy. So if we talk to this guy and we go to buy, you guys can see you can buy wheat from this dude super cheap at 100 coin, which is not bad. And you can see right here, the milk is only 50 bucks. Super simple. So you can just buy this shit. You can just stack this all day, and then like this is the easiest way to bypass any of the like mats and stuff like that. This goes for the same thing for leather too. If you need leather, because there's no such thing as a leather farm. Like I don't know why there's not a leather farm. At least to my knowledge, I haven't found any kind of form of leather farmage. So buying leather from a vendor has been basically my saving grace for leather too. But milk, really easy. Wheat, really easy. And then you can also buy some other items and things like that, like some of these skill fruits. Like I'm actually gonna buy this. I'm gonna buy this too, and I'm gonna buy this because I actually don't have skill laser. These aren't really great skills, especially implode. Implode's kind of mid, but I do like the lock-on laser, so I'm actually gonna buy like 5 of these just in case, because like those are actually pretty good. Acid rain's cool too, but also, I didn't even realize you can also buy eggs and red berries here too. So if you guys need these as well, most of the red merchants will have these extra things that you can buy. So a good thing to have just loaded up real quick. If we go to the map, there's a small settlement right here. So where we are, Plateau of Beginnings, and then we're down here by the grassy Behemoth's Hill. So you just follow this, go here, and then you're just going to want to keep following the path until you get over here, which there's a bridge. You can't miss it. You could also just climb right here and it'll just go up. But once you get to the small settlement, I'll show you guys where the vendors are. So we teleport here, and then you'll see these reliable PIDF officers things over here. Up here, there's a vendor for pals. So this guy will sell pals if you guys want to buy up certain pals that might be available. He doesn't really have anything that I'm looking for. This Pen Gullet's okay. Pen King's terrible. He's got a shiny Fuddler. He's got a shiny Swee and some Rush Ores. Like these are all terrible. But in case you guys need chickpeas, which you shouldn't because they're at the starting area, I would not waste 2,400 coin on this. This is not ideal, but in case you for whatever reason need it, you can buy this. And even like Swift, like this guy, he's got level 1 watering, which we'll go over in a minute why that's important. But there's that vendor, and then if we go over here, there's a red vendor, which is the one that I captured back at my base, and then you can go here, buy, and then boom, you can start buying electric organs. You can buy flame organs here, milk, leather, wheat, eggs. You can buy all the stuff that you need for milk pretty much from this vendor, and it's all relatively cheap. You just got to find a way to make money, which that's, you could sell Pokemon. I keep saying Pokemon, but you can sell pals. You could sell excess, things that you craft. One of the first things that I did was I went around collecting pal spheres. So I basically created a pal sphere farm, which if you get a Vixie, you can go ahead and put a ranch down, and Vixie will farm up the pal spheres. And then I just farmed up like I think like 1,000 or something, and then I came over and I sold the pal spheres to the guy, and then I started buying the mats for the cake. That's just an idea. It's not something you have to do, but that is an idea. Okay, so now we're back here. Let's make sure that these guys are still breeding. Okay, they're still breeding. We're chilling. But yeah, that's a really easy way to make cake. And then all you're gonna have to do is basically sit at your cooking pot or whatever cooker that you're using, and just sit there for about an hour crafting up like 200 cake. It's gonna take you a while. It sucks. I wish that there was a way to do that. One of the best things that you can do is spec into work speed for those of you that are already specced into certain things. If you want to respec, there is a way to do it. All you're going to need to do is get a memory wipe. So if we come over here to this medicine production, you will get this memory wiping medicine, and all you need is just the mats that are listed here, which are very easy to get. Horn is super easy to get, bone, PAL fluids, all of that's super simple. The only thing is the beautiful flowers, which you can get in an area. You just Google where it's at, because I don't remember off the top of my head, but beautiful flowers, there's an area where there's like a ton of those things, especially at the sanctuary. I believe that's actually where it's at. So the sanctuary is far down here. So this area, there's a ton of beautiful flowers that spawn all along this ring here. So if you guys need beautiful flower to get a memory wipe, so you can respec your character, this would be the best way to do it. So that's just if you want to reset your stats and go into work speed. I did that for a while. So whenever I'm going out and I'm hunting and doing attack stuff, and based off of whatever, I will go and respec back into my attacks stats. And then whenever I want to do workload stuff, I will respec into workloads and going into work speed and things like that. So that's also just kind of, tips and tricks on how to, just get that going and things like that. So now that you guys know how to make cake, that you guys know how to spec into work speed, just so that way you guys can make things go faster, there's a few different options that we can go to from a stat perspective. Okay, so I'm going to use my pals as an example. So I've got Estegon, right? So this is my end game tanker that I want to build. So I'm trying to breed the tank stats for Estegon because he's a really heavy tank, and then this Grizzbolt right here is going to be my DPS pal. So I'm trying to breed DPS stats into them. So let's go over the stats and how to actually breed. So for Estegon, we'll start with this one because this is relatively simple. For tank stats, as you can see, this Estegon right here, he's a boss version and he has 800 defense, right? He's really juiced from a defensive standpoint. So he's got burly body and hard skin. So hard skin is plus 10% defense and burly body is plus 20%. Super crazy stats for just a defensive pal. Now, what I want to do is breed this into the other pal that I have here. So the other Estegon that's level 3, he's got legend and lucky, which is the stats that I ideally want. So I would like to breed this lucky and legend into the other stats, which is burly body and hard, whatever the fuck it was called, hard skin. So as you can see, legend has a plus 20% attack, plus 20% defense, and then plus 15% movement speed. And then lucky is plus 15 attack and plus 15 work speed. So this is a shiny stat. I managed to breed a shiny stat into this Estegon, which was really nice. And then I managed to breed the legendary stat into this guy as well. So with that being said, now the ideal situation for me here is to breed burly body, hard skin, and then legend and lucky all together, and that's my god roll. If I get all 4 of those stats as a passive, my Estegon is perfect, and then that's going to be the one that I'm going to use as my main. And as you guys can see here, this Estegon, I managed to breed hard skin, legend, and burly body. So this one is already kind of a god roll. It's not perfect because I'm missing one stat. However, if I can breed this one stat in here, we will be pretty much good to go. Now, the problem with this one that some of you guys might be wondering, well, why don't you just use this female to breed into the male? The problem is that the legend and lucky stat that I need is on a female. So as much as I would love to use this one to breed because it has most of the stats that I want, it's a female. I need the lucky stat, and I don't have another lucky stat, I believe. So if I go over here through my breeding line, I bred quite a few Estegons. This one's got Vanguard, Lucky, and Legend, which is not terrible. Vanguard's good for player attack damage, but it's not ideal. It's not what I'm looking for. Divine Dragon is okay. This is kind of what I want, but this is increased dragon attack damage, which is, I don't really care for that all that much. This one's Burly Body and Lucky. I need all 3 of those. And this one's Legend, Lucky, Lucky and Mind Foreman, not ideal. This one's Legend Burly Body, and yeah, pretty much my bottleneck and the issue that I'm having with these is that I need pretty much Legend and Lucky, which this is the only female I own that has this, and then Hard Skin and Burly Body, this is the only male that has these two stats. So ideally, these are the two that I'm using to breed together. So once I get both of these stats together and I get all 4 of the passives, that's my finished Estegon, and I'm gonna just pump all my points into that and just power level him up, and he should be pretty much my main tank and good to go. Now, as far as my DPS for my Grizzbolts, this is a bit more complicated because there's a ton of different stats that I could do that would make him ideal. So the main role of my stats that are going to be from this Grizzbolt right here, we've got Lucky, we've got Ferocious, and then we've got Burly Body. So Burly Body gives him some nice defense, Ferocious gives him plus 20 attack, and then this one gives him plus 15 attack. Now Abnormal is a throwaway stat. I don't really want this, and I kind of want to breed this out of his lineage. So basically I'm going to breed him with this Grizzbolt, which has Capacitor. Now I could breed something else that would make more sense, because the ideal situation would be Musclehead, so that way he could do more damage. For those of you that don't know what Musclehead is, let me see if I can find a pal that actually has Musclehead. Musclehead is really good because it's like plus 20% or 30% damage, and it's basically from a DPS standpoint, Musclehead is the best option. So let me see if I can find one so I can show you guys what it is. Oh, here we go, Musclehead. So right here, plus 30% attack and then minus 50% work speed. If I have no intention of using the PAL for work speed or for just working in general, the work speed is negligible. You don't need to worry about it. So it's not a big deal, but the 30% attack is the most important thing. So if I had a Grizzbolt that I could breed into this that had Musclehead, I would take Lucky, Ferocious, Burly Body, and then Musclehead, and that would basically give him 75% attack, which would be insane damage. Now that would be the perfect roll, but I don't really have that. And mind you, there's a few options that you can breed. You don't have to breed a Grizzbolt into a Grizzbolt or an Estegon into an Estegon. So real quick, I'll show you guys here all the breeding options. Now I'll put a link in the description or pinned comment somewhere where you guys can use this link, and then this will show you all the breeding options that you guys can do in order to get an Estegon. So to show you guys how this website works, once you load it up, you'll start here. You can click result oriented, which right here, if you want to breed an Estegon, you just type it in, and then this will give you all the results for Estegon. As you can see, there's 6 pages that will result in an Estegon. So if you have Pyron Nox, you can breed it with all of these different options here that will result in an Estegon. And then you have Beacons, same thing, that will result in an Estegon, and you can just go down the line. So if you have any of these other stats here, or any other like pals that have really good stats that you want to breed over into your Estegon lineage, you can go ahead and do that, and then use the parent, the second parent, for the same thing. So for example, if I wanted to breed, let's say, a Cryolynx and a Grizzbolt to get an Estegon, what I would do is just that. So I will go back to my pals, and I actually have a few of those things. So my Grizzbolts, I would use this Lucky, Ferocious, and Burly Body, and then I would breed it into I don't even remember what the hell the thing was. What was it? Oh, it's a Cryolynx. Yeah, so my Cryolynxes are, where my Cryolynx at? Yeah, right here. So I've got a couple shiny Cryolynxes that are pretty decent. Actually, they're all terrible. Oh no, this one's good. So this one I bred a little bit ago, which is actually a juice stat. It's got Musclehead, Flame Emperor, Pyromaniac. Mind you, this is an ice type, but I bred this with a fire type, so that way it would have some decent stats. And Flame Emperor, it goes crazy, but Musclehead is the main stat. So what I would do is breed the Grizzbolt and then the Cryolynx together, and then it would equal an Estegon, and I would possibly might get Musclehead and Flame Emperor, which would be really nice because Estegon does have some fire attacks that he can utilize. And then Pyromaniac would also be a good one too. So I could get 30% fire damage on Estegon plus another 30% attack from Musclehead. And then if I was to get lucky, for example, or maybe ferocious, I could add another 15 to 20% attack on top of that. So that would equal 70 to 80% attack bonus. So that would be something that you could do as well. You don't have to just, you know, breed Grisbolt into Grisbolt, Estegon into Estegon. There's a ton of options that you can do. That's going to be the like the guide there in terms of just like how to do all that. So now I'm going to go ahead and grab up all these eggs here, and then I'm going to go grab up these Grisbolts, and then we're going to roll a couple and just kind of see what we get. So that way you guys can see the struggle tier and the process of how to do all this crap, because it is time consuming. It does take a good while, and you will get heartbroken whenever you don't get what you want. So let's go through the huge eggs. We'll start with the electrics. Ferocious, abnormal, capacitor. 2 of those I want. The others are the other abnormal is terrible. I don't want that. So it's not something I'm going to use. Ferocious, abnormal, earthquake resistant. Again, nothing that I want. That's ferocious is good, but everything else is terrible. Lucky and ferocious is okay. That's about a 35% increase to damage. So it's not horrible. And then hopefully this one breeds into the right one. Burly body, workaholic, and capacitor. That's really not ideal. I don't like that. That's not very good either. And just because you have a lineage with certain passives and stats, that does not mean you are guaranteed to get those. Just as a side note, you are not guaranteed, so don't expect the world out of those. Burly body and coward. Yeah, like, see, that's awful. That's really bad. That's coward is like the worst thing you can get. So that's not ideal. We're gonna go ahead and put those away. And then we're going to start hatching the Estegons. Hopefully we get a little bit more lucky with the Estegons here. So we'll incubate the eggs. Lucky, burly body. Okay, not ideal. So it's okay stats, but not what I'm looking for. Legend, Vanguard, Blood of the Dragon. Okay, that's not awful, but not what I'm looking for. Okay, that's actually decent. Burly body, Legend, and Brave. That's okay. That's not bad. I could use that into a different line maybe. So Brave is 10% attack, so that's not terrible, but it's not what I want. Legend, Hydromaniac, and Conceited. Not what I'm looking for. Burly body, Legend, and Lucky. Okay, that's not bad, but Fragrant Foliage is an L. That's not really what I'm looking for. Lucky, okay, nope, not a terrible roll. Terrible roll again. Hardskin's not bad though. It's basically the tank one that I have. Legend and burly body. Okay, well, that's there you go. It's been about 21 minutes since I've started. 24 minutes since I started this video, and yeah, in 24 minutes I basically got nothing that I was looking for. So even though you have the idea and the things that you want to do, that does not mean you are going to get it, which is kind of annoying. So I have all these Estegons now, and you guys might be wondering, well, you know, I have all these shitty breeds. What do I do with them, and how can I, you know, fix them, or how do I, you know, put a use to them? So there's a few options. You can sell them to a black marketeer or one of the blue vendors, whichever one, doesn't matter, for some coin. So if you want money, you can sell them there if you need a lot of money, especially Estegons. These are actually worth a good bit of money. So if you actually wanted to sell these to like the black marketeer, these would actually be, you know, go for a pretty penny. So it, you know, if you need cash, that would be an option. But what I plan to do is actually use them in this condenser here. So let's say that I want to breed Legend and Burly Body and Hardskin. So this would be my main one. So I go ahead and plop him in here. So this will be the main line. And then what if I wanted to boost him up? So I would give him basic, you know, level 2 or level 1. This would be an upgrade here. He'd get like 200 more HP. He'd get like another like 40-ish, not even 40, like 30 attack. And then he'd gain, you know, like another 30 defense. So I would pick the ones that I don't want. So this one, Downtrodden, that's terrible. Lucky, it's just one thing, so I don't need that. I would get rid of Fragrant Foliage, that's terrible. And then this one is also terrible, so then I would also condense it, and then that would boost stats. I'm not going to do that because this is not the god roll that I'm looking for, but just as an example, on if you have spare pals that are lying around that you don't know what to do with, this is a healthy option to try and boost up some of your extra stats. So whenever you do get a god roll that you're looking for specifically, all the extras that you bred, you can dump them into that god roll to boost his stats even further, so that way he can be stronger. So that's also a healthy option. If you want to sell them, by all means, I'm not going to tell you not to sell them, but ideally I would rather keep them on hand just so that way I could condense them together, so that way I can have a more powerful god roll, assuming that you ever get the god roll. I've been breeding these things for about 2 hours and I have yet to receive a god roll that I'm looking for either of these two. I've come close. I've shown you the stats that I've come close to, but I haven't exactly been lucky with getting the god roll. So I might do a stream at sometime soon, and just, you know, so that way you guys can maybe get, you know, watch it live or something. So legend, lucky, hard skin, again, good roll, but fragrant foliage, that is terrible. I wish that would get out of the breed line. That's what I'm trying to breed out. But you know, it's not terrible. So this is basically the same role as this one: hard skin, legend, and burly body. The only thing that I'm missing is lucky. So if I could breed lucky into it, this would be the perfect role. All I need is lucky into this. So if I take burly body, legend, and lucky, and then I bred this into hard skin, for example, that would be the ideal thing here. But I just keep getting I keep getting fragrant foliage, which is annoying. Like, all of these have fragrant foliage, which sucks. Now, what I could do to try and alleviate the fragrant foliage is I could breed this one, which is a male, or no, this is a female. So I could use this female, and then I could breed the lucky stat. So even though this one has legend, burly body, and hard skin, I realistically want the lucky stat. So I could breed this lucky here, which is a male. So if I wanted to switch it up here and try and see if I can guarantee the stat, now that I've bred a couple different ones, I can take these out, right? So I will put this guy in here, and then I will take the one that has the lucky stat, so that way it's more likely to get the lucky. So we'll just go ahead and plop them back in here. So this is how you start it up. So boom, stop the breeding there and put that in there. And then we'll go get this guy real quick. Come here, you. What are you doing? And then plop this in here. All right, so now they should breed, and then they will go ahead, and I'm hoping that what will happen is I will get the hard skin, legend, and burly body, and then it will also breed lucky into the line, and then that will equal the appropriate stat that I'm looking for. And if that's the case, that would be my god roll. So that'll be perfect. It takes a while, because the reason I couldn't do this before is because I didn't have a male or a female correct one. So the issue is that I only had 2 estigons, and one was a male and one was a female. So I needed to breed more males and more females, so that way I could manipulate the stats like I am now. So now I'm breeding lucky into the tank stats here, so that will be able to give me more attack as well as more defense, and that would be the ideal estigon. And it only took me like 15 estigons later. So yeah, it was a 2-hour process, but the fact is I got it, and now I don't have to try and breed the fragrant foliage out. It just is no longer in the mix. So now I'm more likely to get lucky, and I'm more likely to get legend, burly body, and hard skin instead of fragrant foliage. So that was the biggest thing, and hopefully I get the god roll and we should be okay. But yep, that's this guide has gone on long enough. I'm sorry it was lengthy. It's 30 minutes. It's a crap ton of information, but I wanted to show you guys the breeding process and how kind of annoying it can be. I could have just spent a minute and been like, hey, just plop some shit in here and just, you know, go to Pound Town, but that doesn't really help you. You know what I'm saying? I want you guys to see the process. I want you guys to understand how it works, and you know, RNG is a big factor, and you will get heartbroken at the fact that you don't get what you want. But anyway, that's it for today's video. Let's hatch this egg and hope to God that I get a good Grisbolt. Please, baby, give me a good one. Okay, lucky, swift, and burly body. That's not ideal, but I mean, that's actually not terrible. I might use that in a different line, but there you go. That's it for today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions, drop them down below, and I will talk to you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.